But let's turn our attention now to the United States. Well, for nearly a decade, it's fair to say Trump has endured, if not thrived, on the lack of a filter that defines his political brand, leaving Democrats with no clear path to exploit it in the closing stretch of the race. But a comedian at a Trump rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City, he called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage, and it has sparked fury from Republicans and Democrats and accusations of racism. The comic, Tony Hinchcliffe on your screens, was among the speakers at the Madison Square Garden in New York on Sunday, and he also made a series of jokes that leaned on racist stereotypes. A Trump advisor distanced the former president from the Puerto Rico joke, which was also denounced by Trump's Democratic rival Kamala Harris. Harris herself, by the way, was the target of another Trump warm-up speaker who also sparked controversy, but the furor came as one of the world's top Latin celebrities, rapper Bad Bunny, endorsed Kamala Harris for president. In fact, this comedian also at this rally drew on racist tropes about black people and watermelons, which prompted groans from the audience, and he called Palestinians rock throwers while in the same sentence suggested Jews would not spend money invoking an anti-Semitic trope. The comedian later defended his material on X, saying these people have no sense of humor. But Democratic lawmaker Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz have also hit out at these racist comments. Well, for further clarity, we have with us political analyst Jake Novak joining us on NDTV. Thanks so much, as always, Mr. Novak, for making time for us. Now, many of these remarks appear to be read from teleprompters, which clearly indicated that they had been approved by someone within the events planning committee. But the fact that the US is so close to election day, sir, and with a high-profile New York backdrop, has this rally prompted a new wave of concern from Republicans?
No, I think actually it's been a very positive reaction to it. This comedian, had those comments been made by an elected Republican, by someone who was really going to be in Trump's administration, as opposed to a guy who's known as an insult comedian, I think they would have more traction. Now, I would agree with those who say, why did they bring this guy into the program in the first place? I agree with that question. I don't really think he really belonged there, not because he said so many things that were controversial, just because what's the point of having a insult comedian at a rally where people are trying to celebrate a candidate? So I think that is a good criticism. But you're right. It's so close to the election. I don't think that we're at a point where people's minds are going to be changed about whom they're going to vote for. The only thing that people need to decide now is whether or not they're actually going to go to vote. They're not going to change their mind about whom they're going to vote for, especially if it's just a comedian who isn't even going to work in the administration. If Donald Trump had said these things, if J.D. Vance had said these things, we'd be having a different conversation.
Right, but allies have expressed worry that the remarks could have political repercussions, especially given Puerto Rico, the citizens have been growing influence in battleground states, which have been highlighted time and again. But, sir, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has called this a hate rally. Do you endorse that view?
No, and I think that they've been attacking this rally even before it started. And, you know, it's actually quite telling. I think everyone should understand that the ratcheting up of attacks on the Republicans and this particular rally is actually not about trying to change people's minds before the election. It's too late for that. What they're trying to do now is sow the seeds, plant the seeds for post-election violence. They're trying to get people so riled up that they will perhaps angrily protest, do maybe even some types of violence. And this is the way they're trying to start this anger. I don't think it's going to work as well as it did in 2020 when we had the Black Lives Matter riots, and because there's no COVID for people to be confused by the real messaging. But believe it or not, I really think the Democrats know that they've lost this election, even though we're 7 days out. I think they know that already. And so now they're trying a different plot, a different strategy, which is try to increase the anger over the result they know is coming.
But, you know, interesting to note the Trump campaign, which is generally unapologetic about such statements, had swiftly released a statement on Sunday night, distancing itself from Mr. Hinchcliffe's remarks. What do you have to say about this move?
Well, you know, again, that's where I agree with the questioning. I mean, it's possible that there were some larger planners, some new planners for this rally that included the old group, because the Trump rallies that have been going across the country, you know, he does 2-3 rallies a day. So and they've never had this kind of an issue at any one of these other rallies. So it's clear there were some other people involved in planning out the program for this rally. So it might have been pretty easy for them to try to distance themselves from this, because I think this probably had something to do with people who are not usually on the campaign trail. But again, I go back to my original statement, which is, why are you inviting a comedian like this in the first place? He's an insult comedian. He's a controversial comedian. This is what he does. This is his act all over the country. He probably shouldn't be at a political rally for either party. All you're doing is asking for trouble.
Well, if Tony Hinchcliffe cost Trump the election, many are arguing that it will be the first funny thing he's ever done. But thank you so much, Mr. Novak, for joining us. Do stay on with us for the next update as well.